Hi everyone, welcome to the Sporting Life and Time Form weekend racing video. We are going to be previewing the Betfair Sprint Cup at Haydock, the 3:35 on Saturday, a Group 1 sprint which looks wide open. I'm joined by Matt Brocklebank from Sporting Life and Richard Mann as well to discuss the race and the Old Borough Cup. Welcome along, gents. And Matt, it's a good sprint cup. We're going to get the Time Form ratings on screen and we can see that Inner Sherrin is the top rated off 131, but he's not too far clear.
No, really good race. Looking forward to this. Inner Sherrin, as you say, he won the big one for 3-year-olds at Royal Ascot. One of 4 Group 1 winners, actually, in the field. He started his campaign down the classic route, didn't he? We've seen this before in Sprint Cups. The likes of Dream Ahead, dropped back. He really found his niche, didn't he? It's dropping way back to 6 furlongs. Won at Haydock at the start of the season as well in that good 3-year-old race. Sandy Lane, and then backed it up in really, really good fashion. Looked a real standout, certainly among the 3-year-olds at that stage of the season, since beaten in the July Cup, but could easily bounce back here. Just below him, we've got Swing Along. She's actually 0 from 7 in Group 1 company, but she has been placed in 3 of those, hasn't she? She was a close 4th in this event last year, so probably deserves a change of luck. And then you've got Anaf as well, one of those really fascinating ones who's coming back from a layoff. And then you're into Montasib, should have been a ring. Moss Tucker, he's one of the aforementioned Group 1 winners, having won the Flying 5 last season. So, yeah, plenty of depth. Really good race to get stuck into. Should be good fun.
Let's have a look at the first form clue, because the July Cup is the key piece of form. We've got Swing Along there in the dark blue with yellow spots. Inner Sherrin in the yellow Shaker Bay colours. Disappointed this day. And the big question is, can we forgive him this run?
Yeah, I think you can always forgive a horse a run slightly below par when they go from Ascot to the July course at Newmarket. It's often spoken about in terms of how quickly this race is run in comparison to that 6 furlongs on the stiffer course at Ascot. He didn't quite look to be on it, did he? I just wonder if he was a little bit flat this day. The writing's on the wall here. If you'd backed him at a short price for the July Cup towards the stand side on the right of the 2 yellow horses there.
Maybe it's the test of speed, the pure test of speed on the undulation.
Be. Like I say, when they started out thinking he was going to be a miler, and I do think he's staying on reasonably well in the end. It's not a complete throw-out job, is it? It's not a complete blob. He's running on at the end there. He comes past Jussur, I think, just at the line. It wasn't a terrible run, but he does have to bounce back from that. I think that won't be good enough if he runs that race again.
What might be good enough, Rich, is Swing Along's run. She was just beaten in second there. She's 132nd in on time form ratings. Big chance for Carl Burke.
Absolutely rock solid. Well, he's got a couple of massive chances, hasn't he, Carl Burke?
You talk through them both, because Elite Status has got a big chance too.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Swing Along, who looks a prominent racer. So the last 5 renewals of this race, 4 of them have won by prominent racers or horses that make calls, so she definitely fits the bill in that. 2 brilliant ones this year at Ascot, where she was just picked up late on in the Group 1 there, and then obviously we've just seen again at Newmarket. To me, both stiff uphill finishes. Even Newmarket, I know it's a speed test, but they really have to climb, don't they, in that last 100 yards. And I think Haydock, in that respect, will definitely suit her better. And you look at her 2 standout bits of form. She won the Lowther and the Summer Hill Stakes, 6 furlongs York. Another quick, flat track, not too dissimilar to this one that we're going to get on Saturday at Haydock. I think it'll really suit her. You don't want to give the front runners too much rope here, but I think she'll be out and away, and potentially she might be gone.
Big day for Burt, this, isn't it? Carl's had another tremendous season. As you said, this is sort of a good race for the Northern Yards, but no domestic Group 1 win for him yet this season, so a really big day for him. William Haggis in the same boat, actually, incidentally, but go on Elite Status. He looks quite flashy when he's on it, doesn't he?
He looks really good. Just 2 runs this year. Races have been spaced out, so I think that clearly suits him. 49 days from last one to this one, so I definitely think that's a positive. Look, he looks really good, and again, 2 wins this year have come at Newbury, track not too dissimilar to Haydock. There's loads to like about him, and he's versatile ground-wise as well. A lot's been made of Clifford Lee picking him. Now, we've had this discussion off air, haven't we? I'm not so sure if it's more of an owner thing, massive owner in the yard, and whether Clifford Lee wants to stay loyal.
I think he was maybe pushed down that route.
Potentially, it's hard.
It'd be a big call to get off him, wouldn't it?
Yeah, reading between the lines. So I think if you're going to back Swing Along, and I may well do so, I wouldn't put me off Clifford Lee jumping ship on that one.
Especially with William Buick on board.
Exactly. He's another he's a good jockey, but he's a good jockey of prominent races and an aggressive front end. You see it at the Raleigh Mile a lot. So I think that's the tip in her favour. But Elite Status, loads in his favour. I just think he's half the price of Swing Along, and I'm not sure that's quite right.
Okay, I think we need another video clue because it is a tricky race, and there's a very interesting horse here, Bucanero Fuerte, the Irish Raider for Adrian Murray. In the Ammo Racing colours here, Matt, he is just the one run this season, just the one run in the last 12 months, but on his best form, he's a big player.
Yeah, he's got a touch of class, hasn't he? Irish sprinters don't, top Irish sprinters doesn't always translate to be top, fully effective in top class company over in Britain. But this does look like a horse with a fair bit of class. Third in last year's Coventry Stakes. Obviously, he's travelled and done it there. Then he went on to beat Porta Fortuna, didn't he? Obviously, this year's real quality miling filly, 3-year-old. That was in the Phoenix Stakes last August. Now, as you say, restricted to just this one run, a narrow victory, to be fair, at Naas. So maybe he wasn't quite on it this day. It was his first run back. But at the time, after this, he was actually around 7-1 for the Commonwealth Cup. So that's kind of where we're at with him. We haven't seen him since, but he was quite well fancied for Royal Ascot at the time of being ruled out. Now he returns at a time where his trainer Adrian Murray is having quite a good time. He's had a couple of winners just from a handful of runners so far in the month of September, so that's a positive sign for him. He's actually in the Flying Five as well, just next Sunday, is that right? Yeah, he's about 7 or 8-1 for that, so a shorter price for that than he is this, but it looks significant that he's coming over to Haydock, and I'd be amazed if we've seen the best of this horse yet. He's a quality sprinter, so another one to consider.
Can I just
Dead interesting contender.
quickly add there? He's a 3-year-old. Last 4 winners, all 4-year-olds above. Would that put you off as well? And we talked about Kevin Ryan's earlier.
Yeah,
No.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't put me off necessarily. There was a fair period, wasn't it, of time where 3-year-olds dominated.
They
in the
were,
race.
yeah.
9 have won this century, 9 3-year-olds. And last year, the 3-year-olds were beaten, but they were 2nd, 3rd and 4th at big prices as well. So the classic generation traditionally do have a good record in this race. And finding the key to the 3-year-olds could be the key to this contest. But one final clue, let's have a look at the pace map and see how this race might be run, because I think we're likely to have a good, strong gallop on show with Art Power in the centre there. Obviously a perennial front runner. He's likely to be up in the van. How do you see this panning out, lads?
Yeah, generally speaking, I'd have said no obvious draw bias in this race. Having said that, 7 of the last 10 winners have come from single-figure stalls, but last year the first 4 actually came from 13, 12, 17 and 18. So I don't personally think I'm going to be factoring that in. As you can see from the screen there, there's a reasonable spread of pace throughout. Art Power's probably going to make it down the middle. He's going to be closely followed by Inisherin. We know that he's going to, he appreciates a decent test, so he won't be far off the pace there. Swing Along, as we said last year, will probably do most of the donkey work in the higher numbers, and then you've got pace low as well. So yeah, I'm not going to be drawn into making any sort of hard and fast judgments based around the draw.
Right then, plenty of clues there. It is selection time. Who do you fancy, Rich?
Swing Along for me, prominent racer.
And you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm actually going to bring one in that we've not mentioned before. I think you're fairly sweet on him as well. Should have been a ring. He seems to just run above himself at Haydock every time he goes there. I know it's only a couple of times, but he was runner-up in the Sandy Lane last season as a 3-year-old. He split, was it Little Big Bear and Bradsell, wasn't it? So that was
with Millstream in behind as well.
Millstream in behind, cracking course form, and obviously last year he was just chinned in this very race at a huge price, 50-1. He isn't quite that this time around, but he does look to have improved again as a 4-year-old. He almost won the Duke of York. That was a real head bob, wasn't it, with Millstream? He went on to win the July Cup. Look, it's been a bit of a mixed bag since then, but you do get that with these British sprinters at the minute. He's not an absolute standout, but I think he represents a fair bit of value. He managed to beat the odds-on favourite in the City of York last time when I put him up, and it was a bit of a frustrating one personally because he ended up 3rd overall. But I think anything that raced out towards the centre of the track on the straight course at York during Ebor week probably wants marking up a little bit, and he didn't quite fully see it out as well over the 7 furlongs as those who finished in front of him. But I think he looks absolutely nailed on to run a race. If there's one that you'd back to hit the frame, to a place bet maybe, I think he's a really strong bet. But I think I'm going to put him up each way in this. I think he has every chance he could be closely involved.
Yep, should have been a ring for Matt. I would have to agree with that. I think he's got excellent course form and looks a big price on Saturday. And it's swing along for Rich. Right then, the big betting race at Haydock is at 225, the Betfair Exchange Old Borough Cup. And Rich, this must be the sort of race you like, getting stuck into these. Stay in handicap, it screams you.
Yeah, more nowadays actually as well. Bigger price. I think you get the winner of this, you'll definitely get a good price. I didn't think it was as strong as a renewal as in recent years, though. I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed with it.
Yeah, I must admit, I looked at it for a long time, probably too long, on Friday, and decided to come up with no bet. It just looked a really tricky.
Plenty of them on the ITV, hasn't there? I think this is one
unravel.
of 6 competitive handicaps on Saturday on ITV Racing, so you don't have to play in every race, do you?
Exactly. But I think this Sky Bet E-Bar is a very key form race for this match. I was looking through the renewals, and 8 winners of the Old Borough Cup this century had got beaten at York, and several of those was in the E-Bar itself, and we've got quite a few from that race running here. What do you think between Epic Poet and One for the Gutter, who might come out on top at Haydock out of those two?
Yeah, I mean, Epic Poet's just fractionally better off at the weights. He's £1 better off. He keeps flattering to deceive a little bit for David O'Meara, and I'm a little bit concerned about the pair of them. They're both, like, you know, if you take the E-Bar form fully at face value, you know, they've run massive races in against a very well handicapped Irish horse, the Henry de Bromez there. And you know, if you translate in that form directly across, they have outstanding chances in this race. I just don't think their strike rates, they just haven't been getting it done, have they, this season? I suppose you've got to hold that against them, considering they are single figure prices on those on the back of that good place form in the E-Bar. The form should stand up. I personally, I'm not going to fully trust that form, I don't think. I think they might just be a little bit overbet on the back of being placed in an E-Bar. I thought it was a slightly weird running of the E-Bar this year. I'm going to take the form on.
I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. And it's not just E-Bar form that comes to the fore in this race, Rich. It's all York form, including the 2 mile handicap, which we have got a video replay of. And we've got quite a few running from this race here in the Old Borough Cup, including Divine Comedy, a mare who's towards the top of the betting, and Knightswood for Charlie Johnston, who just keeps seeming to find trouble in running.
Another frustrating one, eh?
Yeah, he is. Divine Comedy run really well here. Just sort of backed out of it later on, and I thought coming back to 1 mile and 6 would probably be ideal.
She's in the red and light blue.
Yeah, and she's really been ridden aggressively here. But if you go back to earlier in the season, she won over 2 mile at Haydock, and it was the same again, aggressively ridden.
She's a proper stayer.
She is.
Handicapped out of it, do you think, though?
I think so.
Maybe.
She's £14 higher now than winning at Haydock earlier in the season when ridden handily. The other negative is she's got stall 14 on Saturday as well, which is not ideal at Haydock. She may well be able to get out and across, but it'll be hard work for her. And I think on balance, when you look at that big weights rise, for all she may well run well again.
Maybe a bit flattered as well, just had the rail as well at York there on the
Well, you're keen on this angle, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know. She wasn't gaining much. Everything that finished on that far rail at York last week, the other week, seemed to be gaining in the latter stages, and she wasn't. She's in the Cesarovic. I wonder if she might be more of a stayer.
Yeah, I think that sort of trip might be more her bag.
And I think when you look at the betting as well, I certainly think she's been well found. Conversely, I thought 2 mile stretch nights would a little bit of Charlie Johnston's, and I think coming back to 1 mile and 6 is absolutely ideal. Now, you look at the overall profile and you'd say, well, this horse doesn't get it done, it just doesn't win. But I don't think the handicap has been unduly harsh for that as well.
He just seems to find trouble, and he's got stall 1, and I just wonder if he might find trouble
That is
again.
the thing, he can start really slowly, and like you say, from 1, he could find himself in a real pickle at Haydock. The interesting thing will be, and it's probably something to watch on Friday and then early on in the card, if they come off that rail when they're fanning to the straight and this horse is slowly away, that's fine and race down the middle. If they stick to the far rail and he's broken badly, he could be in a whole world of pain. But I definitely still think he's handicapped to win races. That record of not winning races this season would put you off a little bit, but I think there might be a big one in him still.
Okay. Well, it was too tricky for me, the Old Borough Cup. I was toying with tipping and backing Yukon Glen, the 11-year-old, but I decided against it in the end and thought, no, just leave the race alone. But have you two got selections?
Interesting. I was looking at Yukon Glen. Interestingly, he's had actually more starts this season than this Waxing Gibbous has had in her career so far. She's the lightly raced one, isn't she? David Municia's horse, the filly. Could be a bit of a baptism of fire for her. It's a big ask for her, but she's clearly on the right side of the assessor, I think. I'm going to take her on. I think there's one that's overpriced here. love to say that I found a 40 to 1 shot, but it's only about 10 to 1. Dancing in Paris just looks great. Bit of
Ian
business.
Williams.
Ian Williams' his other horse,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah, I reckon this should be a 6-7 to 1 shot. I really do. Started the season rated 78. Now he's won 3 times, twice over a mile and a half, once over this distance, so he stays. He's only £9 higher. Runs off 87 here. Absolutely bolted up at Southwell just last week. Seems to be thriving on his race. He beat a 3-year-old of Andrew Baldwin's, who went off 6-4 favourite last week at Southwell, and he beat him hands down. And I just think this is a horse absolutely thriving. He's still totally unexposed as an out-and-out stayer. I'm really struggling to see the negatives. He even won at Haydock as a 3-year-old early on last season. So, yeah, I think this is a cracking chance, this Dancing in Paris.
Horse on a bit of a roll. Have you got one, Rich?
Well, I can't make a case as strong as that, I'm afraid. I thought the top one, Grand Alliance, he's just a class angle in the race. I know he's got 9-12, but I thought Buick was a brilliant booking. The break doesn't put me off 384 days because this horse won a Group 3 first time out last season at Newbury. Look, he's got plenty of weight, but he's got plenty of class too. I think he's a really, really, really good horse. Draw 6 looks good, and he's double figure pricey. He'd be the one I'd go with, I think. I'm not mad keen for betting that race, but at double figures, he'd be for me.
You know what I'm sensing? William Buick, Saturday Trixie for you. Rich.
That is probably on the cards.
On the cards, isn't it? Okay, let's finish with a best bet from each of you. Just 30 seconds on the best wager on Saturday. Matt Brocklebank.
I'm going to be trusting the Racing League form from Southwell last week a fair bit this weekend because I'm with Vultar in the 3:15 at Kempton. Clive Cox 3-year-olds, generally good time to follow them around heading into the autumn. Vultar really caught the eye, I thought, when 6th at Southwell. It didn't happen for this horse over the summer in flat turf handicaps, but Cox is pretty shrewd, isn't he? He pulled stumps fairly early, gave him a break, and has brought him back for the all-weather. This horse's form so far at Kempton reads 3rd, 1st, 2nd, so I'm hoping he can notch another victory to add to that tally.
Good stuff, Vultar for Matt. What about you, Rich?
Merseyside Diva, 4:25 at Thirsk. A course and distance winner, 3 starts back, really gutsy in game on that occasion, and then has been tried in 2 red-hot handicaps since. Run pretty well, but back in calmer waters, back at Thirsk on Saturday, back with Callum Rodriguez as well, and only £4 higher for that win. I think that one will go in again.
Excellent, Merseyside Diva. For Rich, that is us done for the week. Thank you for watching. Good luck this weekend, and we'll be back next week for the St Leger Festival.